In the Circuit Court for the Ninth Judicial Circuit in and for Orange County, Florida. State of Florida versus Casey Marie Anthony.
They had to go off the rails. They had to say not only was it an accident, but the father, a former police detective, comes in with Kelly's dripping body. By all accounts, Kelly is the love of his life. And he takes it upon himself to go throw his little grandbaby's body out in a makeshift pet cemetery out in the woods and leave it there to rot. Then she says she acted normal because she had been molested by not only her father but her brother as well. You know, it was such a fantastic defense, I think they lost their credibility.
Can I just ask, what about the tape? If she drowned in the swimming pool, why was there tape around her mouth?
Absolutely.
Nancy, there's a lot we could talk about because Holly and I are obsessed with this, like most people are. But that Baez, I can go on for an hour how diabolical I think he is.
Nancy, I was struck listening to Jose Baez's harsh language in his closing yesterday. He repeatedly called Casey Anthony a liar and a, quote, slut, language I found pretty harsh. How do you think it went over with the jury?
Well, I don't think it went over very well at all. Of course, being a liar and a slut is pretty much legal in every jurisdiction in this country. But when you're trying someone for murder one, it's not good to point out your client's bad points.
As to the charge of first-degree murder, verdict as to count one. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty, so say we all.
Another thing that they put up, it's crazy. They put a picture of Tot Mom at age 14 or 15, which the judge immediately made them cover up with tape, surrounded by all her imaginary friends. Dan, my 3-year-olds have imaginary friends. One is named Samuel Pocket, and he lives in a treehouse with the Joker off Batman. But a grown woman doesn't have imaginary friends. What that means, translation, lies to cover up murder.
Nancy, this was obviously the defense's way of trying to explain that 31 days, as you said. The prosecution went at that time period as well, saying that Casey had, quote, sacrificed her daughter so that she could party. To paraphrase one Orlando defense lawyer, while Casey was missing, her mother was out, quote, boozing, stealing, partying, and tattooing.
Well, I got to tell you something, Elizabeth, and I know that you know how I feel. This morning when I came here, I looked at Lucy and John David still asleep, and I thought about Kelly Anthony. And not one time in the defense closing statement did they mourn her death. And I find that to be the most offensive part of their closing argument at all.
I think the biggest problem for the defense was that I think Jose Baez was very condescending.
That they're lying?
Towards the jurors. I think that he was really condescending. He kept telling them about how they shouldn't be fooled, they shouldn't be duped, they shouldn't
Don't let your emotion
right. I mean, it was very
your judgment.
Yeah, I mean, it was very condescending to keep telling them how they're going to get snookered by the prosecution. It didn't show any level of respect for the jurors.
Bottom line, I think the state will argue that you don't give the defendant a gold star or an A+ because she managed to hide the body till it decomposed to a point where you can't tell cause of death. I expect to hear that in the final closing arguments right behind me in about 1 hour.
As to the charge of aggravated child abuse, verdict as to count two. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. So say we all.
Not only do we hear from renowned scientist Arpad Voss regarding the stench in the trunk, but Jose Baez, through the witness stand, suggests that raw hamburger meat could have made the same result, referring specifically to the fatty acids that came from Kelly's body as it decomposed, leaving that stain at the base of the car trunk. He actually said, could it have been hamburger meat, raw hamburger meat?
You could also find this in chicken.
I do not know if that's true or not.
What was that last thing he said, Jane? What did he say? He chicken? What's it going to be?
Yes.
Raw hamburger meat, Arby's, Chick-fil-A by the end of the week? What is he thinking? To me, that is making a mockery of science to suggest to this jury, that this stain in the bottom of the trunk, which clearly, according to Arpad Voss, the scientist from Oak Ridge, says is from a human decomposing body.
I do not know if that's true or not.
It's raw hamburger meat or chicken?
Yeah, you know, it's that old trick that lawyers do, Nancy. You know this trick very well. Throw a lot of spaghetti against a wall and hope something sticks. I kept looking for a fair fight there today.
No, actually, Diane.
I didn't really see it.
I don't. I've never thrown spaghetti on the wall
you
to
were
a
never
jury
a defense
and hope
attorney.
it sticks.
You were never a criminal defense attorney.
As to the charge of aggravated manslaughter of a child, verdict is to count 3. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. So say we all. As to the charge of providing false information to a law enforcement officer, verdict as to count 4. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of providing false information to a law enforcement officer as charged in the indictment.
Somewhere out there, the devil is dancing tonight.
One thing is this is our jury system. When you strike those 12 jurors, you put them in the box, the jury box, you trust them to do the right thing. Something Baez said or did worked.
I think Jose Baez was very condescending.
That they're lying?
Towards the jurors. I think that he was really condescending. He kept telling them about how they shouldn't be fooled, they shouldn't be duped, they shouldn't
Don't
be...
let your emotion
Right. I mean, it was
overrule
very...
your judgment.
Yeah, I mean, it was very condescending to keep telling them how they're going to get snookered.
Not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. So say we all. Dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida, this 5th day of July, 2011. Signed, 4-person.